Next, we're going to discuss cells and tissue. Life-sustaining chemicals processes that take place in our cells mean that they have to have certain structures that allow these processes to happen. So some of these are the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, and the organelles that we're going to discuss. Our cell membrane is semi-permeable, which means water and some small, lesser charged or uncharged molecules can move through it. It is created by a double layer of molecules that are called phospholipids, and this layer itself is what they call a lipid bilayer, meaning it has two layers of lipids. These phospholipids are polar, which means that one end of the molecule has an electrical charge, and the other one, which is the lipid portion, does not have an electrical charge. The charged phosphate end is attracted to the watery environment inside and outside of the cell, so it's going to orient so that the charged phosphate ends are towards the cytoplasm on one side and the interstitial fluid on the other side. With this structure, it allows free transient of some small charged and uncharged molecules, but large or more strongly charged ones like sodium or potassium cannot pass through readily. This is what allows osmosis to occur and what allows for the electrical differences in the membrane. Now, with these cells having a negative inner charge compared to the extracellular environment, this creates what's we know as potential energy, or the potential for electron movement. This is used in the form of action potentials, so that way the nerves can use or can send rapid electrical messages throughout the cells. This is what allows like cardiac muscles to contract and things like that. Now, organelles are different things within the cell that do certain jobs. The main organelle The main organelle would be the nucleus. This houses our DNA, or our genetic code. The DNA is then transcribed to the RNA, and then is transcribed by the ribosomes into proteins. These proteins are just building blocks of amino acids, and they serve a multitude of functions throughout the body. The ribosomes free float, or they can attach to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The free-floating ribosomes create proteins, and the rough endoplasmic reticulum provide the proteins destined for secretion from the cell to use somewhere else in the body. Now, our Golgi apparatus is what modifies that protein prior to secretion. Our smooth endoplasmic reticulum in the cytoplasm helps with drug detoxification and metabolism of your steroids. Your mitochondria are throughout the cell, and they produce energy. That's what's going to help with the Krebs cycle and things like that, and creates ATP through your oxidative phosphorylation. Your lysosomes are small cavities within the cell that are surrounded by their own little membranes, and with these enzymes they function to destroy waste and toxins within the cell. Think of them kind of as like the trash service within the cell. Now, your vacuoles store and transport proteins within the cell. They're like the little Uber of the cells, moving these proteins around to wherever they need to go. We also have a scaffolding network that are long chains of proteins called microtubules and microfilaments, and what this does is give that structure or cytoskeleton to allow for transport of materials within the cell. Then our centrioles are small structures within the cytoplasm that support these microtubules of the cytoskeleton. Individual cells are grouped together both by structure and by function to create tissues, and these tissues are groups of specialized cells within the body. Various types of tissue can be found within each organ system inside the body. There are 4 general types of tissues within the human body. You've got epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous. So you want to make sure that you understand what role each one of these plays within the body. For our epithelial tissue, typically these are going to be the thin linings of your body's surfaces, so our functions are going to be absorption, secretion, and protection. There's several different forms depending on where it is located within the body. Something like simple epithelium consists of a single layer of cells, whereas stratified epithelium has multiple layers. Regardless of whatever type of epithelial tissue you're looking at, there's going to be an underlying membrane that anchors it to the underlying connective tissue. When the epithelial tissues line the inside of the structure rather than the outside, that tissue is then called endothelium instead of epithelial. Your connective tissue is going to be fibers, collagen, elastin, and what these do are provide structure and support and strength to the body. So you've got bones, cartilage, and adipose tissue or fat that are all connective tissue. Adipose tissue gives protection, gives the body shape, serves as stored energy. Your cartilage, of course, helps give smoothness to the joints to allow for easier movement. And your bones, of course, give us structure, otherwise we'd just be a big baggy thing of muscles and tissue. Now your muscle tissue consists of cells with proteins that can change in length, which contract and relax, which allows for movement. And there are 3 different subtypes of muscle tissue: skeletal, which is for movement; your smooth, which is generally under your autonomic control, and something like your stomach, your intestines, things of that nature that work on their own, you don't have to think about them; and then cardiac, which of course is specialized to the heart. And the heart cells have a couple of special extra things that are pretty neat, in that the cardiac cells have additional properties that other ones do not, such as automaticity, which allows for them to generate their own rhythm or beat. Your nervous tissue is specialized tissue that generates and transmits and receives electrical impulses. So these cells make up the brain, the spinal cord, and the peripheral nerves.